Hello again, this is Grandma's Gone Gaming, and I'd like to show you our fourth village in the Mini Villages series. But first of all, I wanted to tell you something that I forgot to mention about this Redwood Taiga Hills village. When I started having the baby villagers that were being born, they were escaping, and I couldn't figure out how. What it was this space right here, as the stairs are going up to the third level, where there was open air space, and I ended up having to fill the entire area in with glass, as I had done down below because of the zombies. So I went ahead and filled that all in, and filled in up here also, because if there are areas that the small the villagers can get through, the babies can go through a one layer size piece, and the just like the zombie villager babies can, and the baby zombie pigmen can. So you have to watch out for that when you are designing villages that will have the little ones running around, just like you would in your own house. Don't leave any spaces where they can get out, or they will be in danger. I actually had 3 escape out here into the wild, and believe it or not, on the second day I found them, and they were out here and they were fine. One of them had actually grown up, and I was able to shepherd them back into here to begin trading with them. But I was just amazed that they were still fine after I was here in this area, and the area was active, and they had not gotten killed, and they had not gotten turned into zombie villagers. Okay, so now I am going to go ahead and teleport over to the fourth village, which is in a rift forest. Actually, it is on a rift forest. It is at 65. Whoops, put the TP in. 65, 75, 512. And I will land in right where my bed is in this house. I set that before I put the bed there, actually. Probably need to reset that. This is the largest house that I put in this village. As you can see, it is in the colors and mostly the materials that are found here in the rift forest. Now, I didn't make all this green clay. I just went into creative and got it because I wanted to build with it, and I didn't want to take the time to go find a mesa or dig up all the clay and dye it. That would have taken forever, and I needed something solid to be making these houses out of. Everything else in here is gathered and made from what is in the area. The pumpkins, again, I've made into jack-o'-lanterns. I don't have the farm here that is making those, but I do have plenty of pumpkins growing in other places, and I have found a lot of them out in the hills. Now, this little village is quite a small. This is really a mini village. It's a small area. It is, as I'll show you when it becomes daylight, on top of a whole little rift forest biome. We are covering the entire biome except for just a few trees that are on the outside. I have planted some more of the trees here. These are naturally grown. Again, I have, as with the taiga, I have lit up the top of the trees so that the spiders, which were, they don't bother the villagers, but they come in and they bother me, and I have to fight them when I'm in the middle of building. So I just light the trees up. Okay, this is my trapdoor that goes down, and I'll take you down to the rift forest, which is also lit up with jack-o'-lanterns below. You won't hear probably a lot of zombies down up here because I have lit it up. Before I did all of that, there were plenty of them around, believe me. I'm going to go into creative for just a few minutes so that you can see what this looks like, because it's kind of hard to get a view of this tiny space. And I'd like to show you what it looks like from above. I won't go down and show you the forest yet. I only had, because this pretty much is shaped like the forest below. As you can see, there are a few trees outside of it there, but mostly the biome is shaped pretty much like this. And I covered the trees. I cut down into the trees, and underneath this layer of grass, and underneath the slabs that are used for the roads. All your villages should have roads, by the way. The villagers like to travel on them. are the natural leaves of the trees. I have filled in a few. Now you could leave just the leaves when you do a rooftop village like this. But if you do, and you end up cutting down part of a tree below, or you have to fight off a monster or something, you might make a hole in that grass cover. And then those leaves that are still here will begin to decay. And if you have villagers up here, they can fall through holes in the foliage and get hurt or die. Then you have to get them back up here too, which is not fun. So instead of that, I put the slabs in for the roads, and nothing will spawn. No mobs of any kind will spawn on a slab or a stairway, as long as you have them on the bottom layer. If you put the slabs up here at the top layer, then you will have to light it and treat it like a regular block, and things will spawn on it. For instance, these right here, if that light wasn't there and enough light around, they could create a dark spot, and then you'd have to have some light. Okay, now what I've done with these is I have the one full building that you've seen. You've been inside, and it has it's like a roundhouse sort of. These are half rounds. They're like semicircles, or like quarter moons sort of. I don't. I have extra storage in them. No space for much of anything. I didn't put any crafting tables or anything in here. I use these villages as I go, so I need to have storage space for things that I'm using. This has, each of these, the half buildings as well as the full building, have 8 doors apiece. These open fully, and you can just get right out of there. But I only need 29. And I didn't try to do anything fancy with this. There's no layers, there's no stairs. It's just a small village, and there are 32 doors because there are 4 buildings that each has 8 doors. This is sort of a standard well. I actually did not actually make it in a square. I made the plus sign, and it is that way all the way down, and I'll show you what it looks like down below. It goes down through the layers of the trees into the forest below, and it will work. As you can see, I have one villager. I have decorated this with the colors. Now, you don't necessarily find these flowers down below. You find some of the poppies like this, but you won't find the roses that I used. Where's the tree? Around the trees. I'll show you in a minute. You'll find the pink flowers. I don't know which ones they are. But I like to have the colors that are on the red mushrooms up here. So this is all the colors of the roofed forest. The greens and the browns and the reds, and you will also find the pumpkins in there. And this little villager here, I was down below lighting up the well, the bottom of the well area, and he came up behind me, and he was a zombie villager. And so I thought, oh my, how am I ever going to get him up there? Because I had planned on just using spawn eggs up here for the first 2 villagers. And I remembered that you can build stairs, and you can push villagers up the stairs. They will go up the stairs. So I enclosed him in dirt, and I got ready with, I left him down there doing his shivering and shaking while I came up here where I had already been building, and I made ladders. And I put ladders up the side of the tree and brought him up over here by the well. Well, I had to actually change my plan. He wouldn't go up over the edge, so I had to kind of make some steps for him to come up. And while I was doing that, he was owing, and he was getting hurt. And so I looked back, and he was turning red, and he was just standing there. And I realized that the zombies which were outside, which I hadn't been worried about, were actually touching him through the dirt. And so I had, I was going to go out and put another layer of dirt around. Before I could do it, he turned back into a zombie. Amazingly enough, which doesn't always happen, he was a butcher to begin with when he had been unzombified, and he was a butcher again when I had to dezombify him. I had to go get another potion, use the splash potion, and an apple again, which I did have with me because I planned on finding some over here if I could, but I still wasn't sure how I would get them up. So I did use up another one of my potions and another apple. Okay, so what I've also built here are 2 farm areas, and I have fed him. So he is happy on his own, but he won't show the little red hearts until he has somebody to mate with. But I have fed him. He's had plenty of food. He likes it here. And he likes the flowers. He likes to stop and look at the flowers, and he'll get out and he'll come in the garden. Now I have, because of the golems are going to be up here and they tromp around, in this place, since it is open air up above everywhere, I didn't have to worry about the doors, but I did protect the garden by putting glass over it. I can go under it, the villagers can go under it to farm. The golems will not be able to get in here. It's just an easy way to protect it. You don't have to put a fence around it. You don't have to put gates or doors. Just let the villagers come in and do what they want to do, but the golems won't be able to tromp holes in the garden. They unhoe it. So I have planted over here potatoes and carrots, and under these two slabs at either end there are, all you need is just one square of water there, one at each end probably. Watering a garden, you can water out 4 squares in all directions by 1 square of water. You don't need to do like they have in the regular generated villages. The water is at a premium when you're up in the trees. Okay, so here I have put, just because there was, see, I can't jump in here, so I can't ruin the ground, can't ruin the hoed ground. There is water underneath these just because that makes them equal to the way I had already planted the jack-o'-lanterns, which are every 5 spaces. I did those before I put in the roads or the houses, and they go out from the well, which I'm going to go down and show you now. Now, I didn't hear any zombies down there at all. It's probably pretty safe, but I'm putting my sword out. As you can see, it's a long climb down, and as I go down, I'm going to make sure, whoop, yeah, I did it. Okay, shut the trap door. And I have my welcome sign down here, welcome to Rift Forest Village. And we'll have to go inside to where the well is, and it's really hard to find because I have camouflaged it. And I know it's toward the center. And it's funny because, there we go. We're getting toward it here now. Sure we are. It is in the center of the village. And I put dark oak around it. Here we go. And there's one side here that actually doesn't have dark oak. I don't have any with me, or I'd fill that in. I could go ahead and cut something down, but I'm not going to bother right now. Oh, by the way, I did fix that pathway from the birch forest village. I made it a little safer by putting some edging on it a little bit and made it a little wider at that corner. So getting to the taiga village is not going to cause me any more problems. Now what I've done is the clay comes down here just like it does up in the well up at the top in a plus sign, and then I just put the jack-o'-lanterns around it, and I put logs around it, and it looks, see, here's some more of the clay up here. It looks just like the trees in here, except that it's actually my well, and it is 11 layers deep. As you can see, even though there was night, with all of the jack-o'-lanterns out here, and yes, there's probably more than are necessary, probably no hostile mobs were down here at all. This is the flowers that grow down here. I don't really like the pink with the Rift Forest. I prefer to have the red. And this particular one right here in this area does not have any of the red mushrooms. But if you look straight through over there, there's another Rift Forest, and there are red mushrooms in that. I think we're going to get some rain. It's not ready to be night yet, and it's turning kind of dark already even outside here. This is another one of the swampland biomes that are in the mini biomes. And there's another plains area over here. I think this is just plains. I was going to say maybe it's a rocky beach or a beach area, but it's not. It's just plains. And here's one of my white pigs, which Optifine is allowing me to see. Lots of things over here. You can see both kinds of mushrooms over there in that Rift Forest. I just chose the first one I came to. I think what I'm going to do with the next village is to put it over here in this swampland. I like this area here. There's a lot of shallow area. There's a lot of natural clay that I can use. And I will use this natural clay here because it is native to the swamps. And I'll use it, probably I may even just use the blue blocks instead of baking them and making bricks out of them. I'll probably use, instead of slabs or other blocks over my water to keep from falling into it, I'll use the lily pads, and I will grow the cane up there as it grows down here. I'll probably use the oak trees. I don't generally use the vines, although I can get them with the shears, like I do the leaves, but the vines tend to really let the spiders spawn and come on down in, and if you're not careful and you have the trees too close to the edge, the zombies will, if they get up next to a solid edge, they will go up the vines. So I've had troubles with that before in the swamplands, and I don't think I'll use the vines. But I will use some of the trees, and I also plan to decorate with these orchids that are growing up. Oops, there's one that I'll use. Did not mean to do that right then. And I'll use the mushrooms up there and put some around just for the look of it. I'm probably going to need to get up back into my village. If I can remember, that's right. I have it set, and I'm just going to go ahead and teleport there to the ground level entry, which is that, and I'm right here, and I can go right up. So I'll do that before it gets night. Even though it's pretty well lit, there's really no reason to stay down here. Now, I always like to put the trapdoors at the top. I know some people don't, and I always set my trapdoors flush with the ground so that you can walk right over it without the little bump that happens when you go through these. The reason I use the slabs a lot around the gardens is to keep from, and I set the gardens flush one way or the other. That way it keeps from unhoeing. Isn't that pretty? The beautiful sunset with Soartex fanver and Optifine. I also will get, if I look at the north, some nights I get to see the northern lights. Let's see, they don't always show up right away, and not every night. And maybe a little while. But the clouds are pretty, and they begin to turn into the beautiful northern lights after a little while. Notice that when I started this, I put the green clay down, as I mentioned, to protect the leaves and protect the villagers. But then I realized I can do grass up here. So since I have a nice silk touch shovel, I got my first grass squares and I planted them in strategic places. And there's the red flowers. Those are the roses now in Soartex. And just let the grass. I mean, you're up here in the air, the sunshine, and they convert to grass very quickly. So I now have grass up here instead of a clay base, and everything looks like it should in the forest. Look back at the north. Let's see if we can see any northern lights. Looks like they're not going to be out tonight. So rather than spend any more time on this, we have a 13-minute video already, or is that 18? I kind of had thought maybe I'd look for another zombie villager down there, but I have lit it up so well there aren't any zombies at all down there. I think probably what I'll do is I will take a spawn egg. Might as well just do that and show you before I finish the village, or finish the video. And we'll look for a villager spawn egg. And there's one there. I'll get one. And I'm only going to use the one. And I'll go in here. And I'm going to just make a baby that will grow up. Rather than making a full-size villager, I will click the spawn egg on this villager and a baby will appear. And my spawn egg is gone. I won't use any more. But now we have 2 villagers. That's another way to get your initial villagers. I will not spawn another one. And that little cleric and that butcher, who is nodding at me, yes, he's happy now because he has a friend, will eventually, after the baby grows up, mate and have their own babies. What I will do with him is go out and get some of that food. I don't have any in my pocket right now, but I will go out and get him some food from the farm, after I close this video, and I will feed him right away because there are no farmers here to share their food. And the villagers in 1.8 and now 1.8.1 do need to be fed. If you're active in the area, they can die if they don't get food when you are active and they are active. They need food. So if you spawn villagers that are not farmers and your farm isn't ready, be sure and get some food and give them. They can eat potatoes, carrots, and bread. Um, the farmers will also put seeds in their slots so that they can plant wheat. But they use up the bread really fast. They make bread if they have wheat, and they use it up and they don't plant it anymore. They will plant mostly potatoes, sometimes carrots, and pretty soon they'll mostly be planting potatoes. That seems to be their favorite food. Okay, so that is the fourth village. And I will leave you, and when we come in next time, I will have done some more prep work, and we should have more villagers. Maybe not a golem yet, but we will soon have some more villagers. And I will see you with episode 4.